I see you. Hello, this is Miss Savela with another literary lexicon. Sorry, trying to be silly. So this is another literary lexicon terminology that I'm going to come at you with. Today we're going to come at you with foreshadowing and flashback. So first we've got foreshadowing, and foreshadowing is when the author gives clues about what's going to happen later in the story. So when we look at something like the sniper, we can look at the things that happen inside the story that already occur that they tell us that are happening. So things like the fact that it takes place in the summer is an actual foreshadowing because summer is often a symbol. Our weather is normally a symbol. So the summer is often when things are hot and when things get really heavy and really tense. So that would be an example of foreshadowing. Another example of foreshadowing is in the Scarlet Ibis. The last line of the first paragraph, if you remember reading it, not the first paragraph, the second paragraph is, such a name sounds good only on a tombstone. This tells us or indicates to us that, a tombstone, why is the reader bringing up something that has to do with death? This should be a foreshadowing of what's going to happen. And there are lots of other clues or symbols within the story that foreshadow this as well. So foreshadowing is giving us clues. Now, some of us are really good at picking up on clues, and some of us aren't. And those of us who read more than others, and those of us who watch TV or movies more than others, are able to pick up those things a lot more easily. So, being a film teacher, I tend to pick up those things very easily. So when I am watching a movie, I can kind of figure out what's going on. So for me, the plot or the ending of it isn't as important as watching how everything builds together. The next thing that's important is flashback. Flashback is important because what tells us what people do with this is when we have a third person character or a third person point of view, when a character tells us what happened in the past. You can start a story with flashback, just like any story, or you can usually tell a flashback when you're in the middle of a story. So just like when I'm telling you a story about something that happened, it's something that happened that's in the past, that's kind of flashback and does apply. But when I'm telling you the story and I'm like, oh yeah, that reminds me back in April, that's a true flashback. So a flashback is when we actually are telling a story, regardless of whether it happened or it's happening right now. It's when we stop the story to tell us, oh yes, here's some information that we left out. That is a flashback. And that's important because it lets the reader know that, something is important. And that has a very important impact on us so that we know all of the details that go into making the story effective.